Shalom, shalom, Mesh. I pray all is well. I want to share with you the dreams I've had the last 2 nights. Talk about its relation to our current situation, where we find ourselves, and where those who watch, therefore, know we're about to enter. The night before last, first of all, I just want to let y'all know I'm good, and what I would ask of you, though, of anyone who is of my mishpachah, who call on the name of Abba Yahuwah, if you know that is his name and you are his children, my brother or my sister, I would ask that you keep me and all of the mishpachah in your prayer. And I'm praying for all of y'all. And the reason I was so just raw on that video is way too much to even try to explain. Many things were why I was so in my feelings. The one thing, the biggest thing out of all that had me there was knowing that I hadn't been going to Abba 100% like I know and I knew that I should have been doing, and knowing after he shows how much he loves me, just knowing that just there's nothing like it. And for someone who doesn't experience that sort of thing too much, when I see it and feel it from Abba, and you know, his love and affection and compassion and care is something that's out of this dimension. It's uncomprehendable. It melts me. But I'm good. But I would appreciate, and we're all going to need all of us to be praying and supporting one another, praying for one another more now than ever. And the deeper we get into those deep waters that we are going to be bombarded with, the more we get off into that deep water, the more our prayers for one another is going to be a necessity, a must. Don't forget about your mishpachah. My last 2 dreams I had have been of the same exact thing, different, their own twist and events, but it was in the same place. The first night, 2 nights ago, not last night, I woke up probably 5, 6 times throughout the night, and every time I would go back to sleep, I would go right back to it. And I was being herded along with a bunch of people into a facility. And in the dream, I didn't realize what it was until, after I'd woke up and thought about it throughout the day. I realized that it was a sea camp, but they didn't call it that. No one was calling it that. And it was meant to not look that way. But that, in fact, is what it was. And in the day after I had time to think about it, I realized why I and all the rest of us were being ushered in there was because we wouldn't comply with something, which it wasn't what I realized it was in the daytime, but in the dream, it wasn't meant. It was so sugar coated and wrapped in deception that even I had no idea that that's what it was over until I thought about it for 5, 6 hours. Last night, I went right back to that same facility. One detail, we were in, it was tropical. There were palm trees around. And that was the first night. Last night, both nights, I was getting out of there. I, with other men, had worked a way, strategy to dip out, if you know what I'm saying. And last night, in that dream, I had dipped. And last night, I found myself on this huge, you know how huge freeways, like say in Chicago, and that's where last night's area was, where I was. You know how they have those when huge freeways intersect, and you got all those ramps, and just the worst thing ever to me. This was that, but on a humongous scale. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many lanes and exit ramps, on ramps, everything was just, it was crazy. And both of the dreams, there were like, the majority of the people that were around me that weren't being put in these places, in this place, were like Filipino type people. I don't know the significance of that. But in both dreams, the people that were working there and that I would see, I don't know why this is, but the women's faces were, their mouths were like ripped off, and like it was nasty, like something off of the worst horror movie you could imagine. And I don't know really what that was about. I've thought and tried to, I don't know, but I'm going to continue to ask and seek the understanding why he showed me that. But last night I was able to leave, and I got uh, an amazing pickup truck. I had this just the most amazing truck. It had the nicest rims and uh, sound system, and it was just immaculate. And I was given that, and the wind in my sails, and I was trying to go west back to where I am now, but I couldn't get out of that big jungle of on ramps and exit ramps, and it was due to people. I kept running into people that would like ask me, just, can you wait for me? Can I ride with you? But I need to just quick, I need to run over here and do this, and but it'll only take a minute. And I was like, sure, but I didn't want to, but I did it because I couldn't just abandon them. And these were people I knew. One was a female who um, I used to have a huge crush on, and a long time ago. And she was more beautiful in that dream than she is in reality. And she wanted nothing more than to be with me, besides me to wait a few minutes so she could do whatever she was doing. And it kept getting me lost, and I couldn't get on the road heading to where I needed to go. And there were road construction workers, like carrying rebar and all this stuff, and there were women all around working with them, and their mouths were like just tore out, like it was unbelievable. I can't explain the this. It was horrible. And it's unusual for me to have a dream where the second night I pick up right where I left off. The only difference was the first night I was like in the Philippines or something, and but there were mostly American people that were going in to it. And then last night it was like I was in Chicago, in between Chicago and Milwaukee. And there, like last night, there was like 4 people that got me hung up that I waited on, and every one of them I eventually got so fed up that I just left. I told them, look, I gotta go. If you're not back here in like 5 minutes, I'm out. And they wouldn't be back, and I left finally after they did it to me 3 or 4 or 5 times. And when I would leave, I was so lost after jacking with them that I'd finally like stop. And when I would stop, something cool would happen. When I finally left and said, no, they're not wanting to take this serious. They're playing around. I'm out of here. And I remember the last time with that female that I used to have a crush on, when I finally left and told her I had to go if she wasn't back, I stopped at like this station or something, and I was eating chocolate peanut butter and peanut butter ice cream in like a chocolate waffle cone. And it was like the best ice cream ever, which was crazy, like some dreams are. But what I realize is that for me to have a dream about the same thing back to back nights And the last night being on a massive, broad and wide road, and people kept getting me lost in it. When I first got out of there in last night's dream, if I would have just said no initially, I would have got right out of there. But because of flatteries, I was duped. And it wasn't intentional by them people. You know, they weren't doing it to dupe me. They really wanted a ride, and they really wanted out of there, but there was always something that they had to do first. And I was just so thankful to be getting out of there. Well, you know what the broad and wide road is. I don't have to tell you that. And the facilities definitely were those CC facilities. And we were all being put in there for um, not complying and being civilized. I've talked about how there's so many pyramid, triangle logos in the world, and I'm sure those of you who are understanding, you see them too. You've seen them, like Reebok, you know, you name it, you know, Google. Let's just see logos with triangles. Look here, images. Android, um, this here for Google Play is satanic. Reebok, Google Drive, Guess, Citco, and these are deltas. The up facing triangle is a male, and the down facing triangle that T-Man Trump loves to show, that is the female. And like I've said so many times before, when you combine the up and down triangle, you get the hexagon, the six-pointed star. And a delta means a door, a combining. You combine the up and down triangle, you get the six-pointed star. But what that also is what you've probably noticed a lot of too. And that's cubes. Three-dimensional cubes. Like that, but more like this right here. Now, if you notice, I'm not very good at drawing, but if you went like that and you draw the triangle that way, and you went like this, and this, and this, see, you got a six-pointed star. But the more important to them symbol is the cube. And if you haven't noticed, the overwhelming majority of these that are on logos, look around and you'll see what I'm talking about. What I'm feeling, thinking, what I think the Most High has been showing me, that the reason they use these cubes is because when the 57 goes live, and all those people who have rolled up their sleeves, the 2/3, they will be a part of the internet. They will be connected to the web. And you will not be able to, you'll always be in view, and everything you do will also be in view under a microscope. We know that they worship Saturn's cube. They say there's a cube on the top of Saturn. Well, when 57 goes live, that cube is the symbol for that taking place. No longer will you be disconnected, not connected to the web. And it's so much more than what we could imagine. And I truly believe that it's spiritual as well, demonic. And money for them will be deposited, given to them by a stream. It will be streaming to them now. They won't have to wait like they had before, which isn't very long. You won't be able to everything you spend will be for any of them to see, to know. Everywhere you go, whatever you do. I'm gonna guess that when you're hungry, they'll know. When you're thirsty, when you're in bed, when you're dead. And that's one of the main reasons for hooking you up to this. Because if it is remote, and it is, they can drop whatever amount of people they want with the push of a button. That's why there's receivers on light poles. Every house, pretty much. Right here, this thing I'm holding in my hand. Every building. And the mandate for the roll up your sleeve is right around the corner. I know most of you say you don't watch the news. Well, I don't either, but I do on YouTube go through and check out the headlines, because when Abba has given you the ability, because you've asked to see, have insight on this stuff. Look, there's the cube on YouTube Studio. It's a way to have more discernment on what's coming, what's going on. You need to watch, therefore. Let's see if we can see some meaning of the double-headed eagle right here.
cases surging nationwide.
Let's just listen to a couple seconds of each of these videos, headlines, and you can see the rhetoric for yourself.
Some good news right now from the CDC about vaccine protection. A new study of 1 million fully vaccinated adults shows that severe illness is extremely rare, less than a fraction of a percent. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, is there in Burbank, California with the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Cecilia. We have long known that vaccines are highly effective, but this new study lends hard numbers to that understanding. Basically, if you are vaccinated, you are more likely to be struck by lightning than to die of COVID.
Oh my God.
This morning.
The Omicron variant is sending record numbers of Americans to hospitals. It's hitting children under the age of 5 especially hard. Those kids still cannot get vaccinated, and the lack of protection is translating to more hospitalizations. Health experts say the Omicron variant appears less severe than earlier strains, but it is far more contagious. According to the CDC, the average number of new daily cases topped 614,000 over the last week. CBS News' Michael George shows how the huge jump in infections is putting a strain on healthcare workers.
In the midst of an Omicron emergency,
it is so easy to transmit.
And you see, they admit that it's harmless. And you know why? Because it's the cold. It's a common cold. A friend sent me a video, which we've known this, sent me a video where they have a ID number for Omicron, and they've had one for the common cold. It's the exact same number. Why is it then when you get the sniffles, a cold, you got to be tested? And what do you think that test is going to say? Why do you have to have a test when you start to have a runny nose and quarantine yourself? I saw a lady today that told me her and her family had the flu, and she looked at me and you could see that she was so concerned with how I was going to react to her telling me that. And I went out of my way to not react in any way any different than I would have when 5 years ago when somebody would have told me that. Look at this.
Well, Supreme Court showdown looming over in Washington, the highest court in the land, gearing up to weigh in on the Biden administration's COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's legal correspondent, Alexis Keenan. And Alexis, this is a little unusual in that there's still a lot of cases in the lower court. This isn't one that's necessarily made its way up.
About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they weren't talking about mandates. They're talking about all out mandates. And at the same time, like if you see any news headlines about Kazakhstan, where the whole government has collapsed, and they've had to call in Russia. Russia has sent a large amount of troops to go in there because they're burning the government buildings down. The protesters are. The soldiers have been given the orders to shoot to kill. Okay? The news analysts are saying that they call the leader an authoritarian, okay, when they're wanting to mandate this roll up your sleeve on us. What could be more authoritarian? They're saying that those protesters are doing what they're doing because the price of fuel has doubled. Now, I mean, I could see some protest over that, but what would you bet, just like me, that they probably mandated the roll up your sleeve and the people are going nuts? Australia, they've mandated it. I think in the UK, might be Britain. I'm not for sure, but there are European countries that have mandated, not for employees, workplace. No, this is, you are on hard lockdown. You can leave your house only for like hospital to go get your vaccine, grocery store. They said that an hour a week for exercise isn't necessary. What do they say? I can't even think of it right now. Essential. If you haven't rolled up your sleeve, you can't leave your house. You can't go to the mall. You can't go to Walmart unless you're there grocery shopping. And how do you think they're figuring out if that's what you're doing or not? Because there's checkpoints. They're advising neighbors, anyone, to keep everyone around you under surveillance. Make sure you're asking everyone, because if you are involved in, say, your neighbor who hasn't rolled up their sleeve, if you saw them leave and they go to a quote unquote super spreader event and then they return to the neighborhood and you didn't ask questions, I'm sure there's penalties and consequences for that sort of thing. If you don't believe me, go check out some of the headlines. It sounds like these premiers and prime ministers over there sound like 1984, but worse, actually. And a year ago, this was unheard of. 5 years ago, you wouldn't have even, you know what they called people for talking about that sort of thing. A month ago, they really weren't talking about it. Look how quick, though, they can change the whole world. In 2 years, the whole world has changed. In 6 months, the mandates could be in full effect, right along with the 57 going live. And the news tells you what they want you to know. You'll never get any truth from them unless you watch it, like I was just mentioning, and see their bullshit, so you can get a little bit a heads up for some things. Don't place faith in it. Don't believe or obey what they say. Majority of times you can count on doing the opposite of whatever they suggest. Whatever they're saying is fact, I would say 98% of the time is not. They're telling you that tons of people are dying. Where? And what is really sad is the amount of people who claim to love Abba and love truth, but yet they still will tell you that their friend has COVID. And if you say something about it, they'll say, there's all kinds of people that's had it. They have. Okay, how do you know? Well, they got sick and they went and got tested and okay. This is coming from agencies with a serpent wrapped around a stick with wings on it. Did you know that? I'll just show you real quick. Let me show you a little stat right fast. Well, I'm almost done, so I don't have my charger handy. think it was that far. Right here. How many healthcare workers lost their jobs in the state of New York? Why it's showing up like this, I don't know. Oh, I had it stuck on images, that's why. About 34,000 health workers in New York lost jobs or went on furlough and unpaid leave due to the mandate. They're not taking it. And these are healthcare workers. And the people that have mandated this, they're not retarded. They knew, they were banking, hoping that this would happen, that they would leave. Because then they can call in their people that they've had ready for this day to come in. And they're not going to be wearing white. They're going to be wearing camouflage. And they'll be armed. This is all going according to plan. The only thing I can say is the 57 was supposed to go live on the 5th, and they say it got delayed because the FFA was bitching about it because of the it affecting something with their flight control or something. I don't know. I know they're all in cahoots in bed together, so that could just be yeah, there's something up fishy about that. And but did it get turned on the 5th? I don't know. I don't think it probably did get delayed, but it's for some reason that's probably according to their plan. Look, Mish, read Daniel, all of it, but the last few chapters for sure, and you'll see how it says that those of us with understanding and insight stumble. People will join us by flatteries. I've been dreaming about it. I've seen it. I've seen those people who delight in conflict. You think they're, stand-up people, and then out of nowhere, they whop you upside your head with false accusations, trying to stir conflict and heated debates that are meaningless, that will do nothing but cause conflict. Try to get, us to argue with one another, unfriend one another. We can't let this sort of thing happen, Mishpika. Just like my dream. If I would have, I still could have been polite, but I could have been like, well, yeah, you can come and go. I'll give you a ride. And when they said, well, can you do this? I should have, in my dream, in reality, I should, now that I was shown that in a dream, I should have enough faith in the Most High that if that happens, I can say, no, I can't. You can come with me now, but I can't. This is serious business here. You either get in and go now, or I can't help you. Don't let no man take your crown, Mishpaka. I love you. Shalom, shalom. For now, peace out, D's out.